Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the problem that never happened. Stick around. So the problem that never happened, this is one of my favorite stories to tell because, look, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still guilty of worry, stress, thinking about the future, and let's be clear, there's a difference between being mindful and making preparation or executing in a manner that's going to put your future self in a better position, and there's also worry for something that may or may not even happen. So here's my story, and I tell this story to agents and other people because it's pretty embarrassing what I let happen to me. So let me set the stage. It was around quarantine when the pandemic hit, and my family and I, we decided, hey, look, we want to get out of Louisiana for a while. We need to get we just need to get out of here. So we decided to take a trip to Colorado. We stayed at an Airbnb for about 4 days. Beautiful, beautiful place. It's I want to say it was Winter Park, Colorado, about 12,000 feet up is where we were staying. And it was really hard to get the truck. We still have the 2004 Suburban. It's been such a good truck to us. It's hard for me to part ways with it, but we almost broke that truck getting there. Like getting the altitude, the engine, the transmission, everything was really struggling to get up these mountains to get to where we were staying. And when I got to the Airbnb or the VRBO, whatever you want to call it, I was like, we got all the stuff set up, and I was like, all right, I'm going to make a grocery store run. I pull out of the driveway and I see a big oil spot on the driveway of this VRBO. And I was like, that's not good. So drive the truck around, we pick up groceries, and I could smell oil burning. And, I ended up bringing it to a mechanic while we were there. And he was like, look, I would have to take this transmission out. I would have to take this thing apart. It'd be with me for like at least a week and a half for me to properly diagnose what's going on with this truck. I said, well, I don't have that time. Like, we have to be back in Louisiana because my son-in-law, he was about to go off to boot camp. So that's what kind of inspired this trip too. So we brought him along with us, and I was like, look, I don't have that time. He's like, look, the best thing you can do is just add oil to it on the way home. Check and, every time you stop for gas or stop every hour or two for a bathroom break, check the oil level, add oil as needed, and just hope you make it home. So on the last day, the night before we were supposed to depart, I got an alert from the VRB owner. Hey, great news. We don't have this place scheduled for tomorrow, so we'll give you it at like a massive discount. We did have one more day before we could get my son-in-law back home so he could go off to boot camp. I know he had one more vacation to go on with his family before he went to boot camp. So it was like we were going to be getting there and they're going right back out. My daughter and my son-in-law were going off to another trip with his family. We were trying to pack in a bunch of stuff before he went off to boot camp. Anyway, I was like, all right, cool. I bought the extra day. It wasn't that much money at all. And the last day, all I did, look, we're on the mountainside in Colorado, the most beautiful sunsets and days that you can possibly imagine. The last day, I sat on the couch and all I was doing was worrying about getting home, because if I did not get home on time, if we broke down, from Colorado to where I live in Louisiana, it was like a 22-hour drive. If we break down somewhere in between Colorado and Louisiana, there is zero chance this kid is getting back to his family so my daughter and him can go on their next vacation. I'm just swimming in negative thoughts and worry and fear. I'm on the couch, and where I was sitting on the couch, I could see other cars driving up the mountain to the little place that we were staying. There was a bunch of houses up there, and I'm seeing like new SUVs drive up. Again, I'm in a 2004 Suburban, still own it to this day. Love that truck, love it. But I'm looking at all these new vehicles coming up the mountainside, and I'm like, man, you should be further along in life. You shouldn't have this old truck. You should be able to have the money and the resources to just fix this thing. You should have the money to be able to just rent a car and leave this truck here with this guy to fix it and fly your family home. So again, look, I am just giving myself the business, negative self-talk, worry. My family had a great time. Just all we did was relax that day. All I did for 12 hours from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep was worry about getting these kids home and that truck breaking down. Negative self-talk, just giving it to myself. Just, you're a loser. You should be in a newer truck and this and that. We pack up the truck the next morning. We drive home. We stop at the first gas station, top off a little bit of oil. Stop at the next gas station, top off a little oil. And the further and further I'm making it home, I'm realizing that I'm barely adding any oil to this truck whatsoever. It's running fine, no smoke from any oil burning. You could smell it a little bit when you stopped in traffic. Otherwise, that thing it ran like a tank. It ran like a tank. I think from the time, 22 hours I drove that truck we went from Colorado to Amarillo to stay overnight, and then drove from Amarillo back to where I live in Louisiana. The amount of oil I added to that truck was less than half of a bottle. Why am I telling you this story? because all I spent extra money to stay an extra day at a place where all I did was worry about something that never happened. So let me ask you this. I'm sure we all have a similar story, or similar stories, or multiple stories. What have you done in the past? Like, did worry fix any of those problems for you? I'm glad I have this story now, because anytime I tend to like drift off or worry about something that may or may not even happen, I remind myself Colorado. Just remember that. And I want to be very clear. I do not mean just being blissfully ignorant to things that could be a major problem. Okay, that is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about being mindful of the amount of time that you spend worrying about a situation that may or may not happen. If it's possible for you to take some sort of action to mitigate, then do that. If it's something that literally may or may not even happen, how about we just worry about that when it happens? Again, I know I'm preaching from a choir, or whatever the phrase you want to throw in here is, because I just told you this story about how I'm like completely ruined the last day of my vacation. But it's important for you to hear, because I think far too often a lot of us worry for no reason. I can't think of one moment or circumstance in my life where worrying about a situation or something actually benefited me at all. It would only benefit you or me if we saw this concern, saw this problem, had a thing that we could do to fix this problem or mitigate the risk of it happening, and that's the best you can possibly do. So I want to end with this. If you have to use my story, great, but I'm sure you have your own story. I'm sure you have your own story, or multiple stories about situations that you just overly consumed yourself with worry. Then worry turns into your negative self-talk. Then it turns into anxiety. It turns into depression. Like, it doesn't just stay where it's at. It doesn't just stay this thing. It grows and just forms into this bigger thing than it needed to be. So the next time that happens, center yourself, catch yourself, remind yourself. If you don't have a story, I'll be very surprised if you don't have a story similar to mine about worrying about something that never happened. But take a moment and say, look, this situation, yeah, could this happen? Yeah. Do I need to be mindful of this? Yes, I need to be mindful of this. Is worrying going to fix any of this? No, it's not. Are there any action items I can do right this second to mitigate the risk of this happening? Yes or no? If it's no, then just stay in the present moment. Stay where your feet are. If there's things you can do those things. Okay. And that's the best anybody can hope for. But that's it. I want to leave you with just knowing that you are capable of anything. You're capable of changing your mindset, changing your belief system. I used to jokingly brag about, like, I'm the best worrier, like I'm the best at it, as though that was something to be proud of, or as though that was something that actually benefited me. It was a joke, but why would I joke like that about myself and, make light of the fact that I like to concern myself with problems that may or may not ever happen? And another thing too is, I would say out of all the things that I worried myself to death about, maybe 2% of those things ever really happened or transpired, or was even a big enough deal to even being noteworthy. So the next time you catch yourself in a moment of worry doesn't just stay as worry. Worry turns into anxiety. Worry turns into depression. Worry turns into negative self-talk that is no longer beneficial to you. You are now actively sabotaging. It's arbitrage. You are in a moment of frenzy. So the next time you catch yourself spinning out like I did, recenter, take action when you can, and just let the rest be. That's the best any of us can hope for. So that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.